Okay, welcome back. In this video we are going to look specifically at interval notation and what that means and how it works. Whenever you are working with an inequality, your solutions are always given in interval notation. It is a proper form that discusses the interval over which an inequality or a solution is true. So you can see in this table here we have a bunch of different combinations of inequalities. So what happens if you are strictly less than, strictly greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or if we have two terms. So for example, you can see over here where you have two different values and your variable is sandwiched between. Okay. So what you can see is the different symbols, the type of bracket or parenthesis you would use, what the inequality might look like, and how the interval might be addressed. So here we're just going to look at a couple quick little examples so that you can see a refresher on graphing an inequality and writing its interval notation. So if we look at this first one, notice I have -1 is less than or equal to x is less than 5. So the first thing that you need to keep in mind is that I have a less than or equal to, which automatically means that I have a bracket, and then I have a less than, there's no equal to there, which automatically means I have a parenthesis. Okay. Once you know that, you can set about creating that interval. So in this case there is no solving necessarily that we have to do. Instead, what we are simply doing is writing our intervals. So we're going to bracket around the first one. So we put a bracket and then my value is a -1. A comma is going to represent the variable that we have, and then our second value was a 5, so we're going from -1 up to 5, and then we're going to parenthesis around the 5. Now that is interval notation. Your interval and your graph should look the same and match. Now when we're graphing intervals, we are using a good old-fashioned number line. So easy peasy, slap a 0 here in the middle. Remember, the right hand side is positive infinity, the left hand side is negative infinity. I've got a -1, I've got a +5. At my -1 I have a bracket, so you need to drop that bracket into your graph. At 5 I have a parenthesis, so again we got to drop that into the graph. And then we are shading everything in between. So for this first example I wrote the interval and then graphed it. Okay. In this second example here, I'm going to start by graphing it and then write the interval. So let's see what that looks like. So to start by graphing it, again, draw in your number line. Again, we're going to slap that 0 in. The right hand side is positive infinity, the left hand side is negative. So I've got a -4 and I have an 8. And now I need to look, because of this or, I am looking at these as just individual. So here I've got x has to be less than -4. So that means here we are using parentheses. So that's what's going on this side. And so here I'm going to put this parenthesis out, and it's going in this direction, and I'm shading everything that is less than it. So we're going down that way. Now on the other side I have a bracket, and I'm saying that x is greater than 8. So here, because this is greater than or equal to, I've got my brackets. So I'm going to put a bracket around my 8, and I'm looking at all values that are greater than it, so I'm going to shade in this direction. Now we need to make sure that your interval matches your graph. So this is the way we do it. In this instance, we're going to start at the negative infinity. So we're going to start your parenthesis and slap in negative infinity, and we're going to travel along that number line until we get to negative 4. So we're going to put in that negative 4. It's got a bracket, so we're going to put a bracket around. Now we have this whole big group of empty space, so we represent that here with the little U looking thing. That means union. Then on this other side, I start with a bracket. So I'm going to open my bracket here. That starts at 8. And I'm going to travel all the way up through positive infinity. So I'm going to put in my positive infinity here. And then I'm going to close it with my parenthesis. Now, the biggest thing that you need to remember, so a little note here, is that you will always use parentheses around the infinity. What that means is you're always going to have parenthesis with your negative infinity and parenthesis with the positive. They never use brackets. Alright, so other than that, that is a quick snapshot on what it means to graph and write interval notations based on inequalities. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, you can use this little chart as a good reference to kind of help get you going. And I'll see you next time.